All right, great. So, already been introduced, Lou Kerner, blockchain co-investors, crypto fund of funds, at Lou Kerner. Let's go to next slide. So, 10 thoughts on communities. Next slide. So, I think the next slide is who am I to be here talking about, there we go, community. So I was an equity analyst on Wall Street for kind of the first third of my career. The first company I started was .tv, but my community story really starts in 2003 when I'm 40 years old and bought Bolt, which the VCs had poured $60 million into and then kind of walked away at what we called then internet winter in 2003. And it was a social network with 500,000 kids, and I bought it with the founder. And over the next 3 years, we grew it into the largest social network in the world. We peaked at 23 million monthly kids. We were it until MySpace totally blew us out of the water. And we did 8 acquisitions during the 3 years that I ran the company. I talked to more than 100 kids about buying their companies. I was the first one to call Zuck. About a month after we launched at Harvard. Fast forward 4 years, 5 years, 2009, I was an angel investor. Somebody offered to sell me some shares on Facebook. And I thought, I've been an equity analyst. I run a social network. I'm probably the smartest person on the planet to actually know what this is worth. It was actually traded at $16 billion. And I was shocked to learn it was actually worth $50 billion. So I wrote a research report on it and spent a lot of time over the number of years kind of being the expert on Facebook because nobody else was from Wall Street's perspective. And fast forward to 2000, I focusing on investing in Israel, and that was awesome. And then on June 29th, 2017, I held a conference call with 4 leaders in the space. And on that call, somebody said something, saw the crypto light of 24 cents. And what I saw when I saw the crypto light was for the first time in history, we had a tool set to solve for the community instead of the man in the middle. And I thought that was the biggest thing to happen in the history of humanity. And I thought so a little more every day for 4 years until about 6 months ago, I saw something even bigger than crypto. What I saw? Anybody? What? The metaverse. So next slide. So I saw the light. I was literally in a for 3 months. I thought I knew the future, but I didn't construct. I'm a very active blog because I don't know what I think of anything until what I've written about. 7 thoughts on crypto. Down the hole. It was the red thing. Tagged Medium for 3 days. After which, according to Medium, I was the 3rd most influential crypto blogger in the world, which not only made me a guy in crypto, but it also proves the first of my 7 thoughts on crypto, which were nobody knows anything. We're at the very beginning of this whole brand new fucking thing, and if anybody tells you know something, they're lying to you. So, right, we use all these words now. Actually, I'm using Web3. I got to change this slide, but from 2 perspectives. From a tech perspective, when I say a series of technologies that all together allow us to do things in ways that we never could, in decentralized. But at the core is community. Next slide. But there's also ethos for crypto, and for as an equity analyst, I really felt that my job was to tell a compelling story, and it's literally only about a month ago I came up with. I don't try and help people understand crypto because you can't, in an hour or 10 hours. I don't think you people crypto. I think they have to be incentivized to learn it. And this is the best way they incentivize them. I tell them, we grew up in a culture of greed, and crypto is a culture of giving. And we all get to the culture it is that we want to be a part of. I define community as when communities work, all members get more from the community than they contribute. That's what I hope who's trying to build a community is trying to achieve. Next. So I started Crypto Mondays. as a meetup. I had actually been a shareholder in meetup when I was running my first fund. They're really magical. The people you want to show up, just show up. We started at June 8th, 2018, the peak day of market cap for 2 years, had 300 people at the first one in New York, 350 people decided to blow it out around the world, though decentralized. So people call up from Medellin and say, hey, we want to open up Crypto Monday Medellin. Great. We open up a meetup for them. We make them the host. We say we're here to help if we can help, but we're decentralized. Good luck. And a month, 2 months later, we can get we always get an email saying, hey, our next, we're going to have our first meetup next week. We want to make sure it's okay. We can do ABC. And I say, yes. You can do ABC. The only thing you can't do is send us an email asking if you can do ABC. What part of decentralization did you not understand? And the reason it's been a success is because it is decentralized. Because again, I think of it like a community, and unless the person or people running it get more out of it than they're putting in, then they're not going to do it. And the way to optimize for that is to give them 100% power and not in any way put any constraints on them. And what they get back, I can tell you 100% of the people who run Crypto Mondays have done it successfully, get, like what they give to the community gets multiplied and given back. And it's really amazing. The woman who, Erica Gemma, who started Crypto Mondays Miami, totally killed it. And when the mayor of Miami decided he wanted to start an 8-story building, 8-story blockchain center, he hired Erica to run it because she had the best community. And there's been a lot of talk here about giving value to community members. And obviously, money's in Bitcoin and stuff, but there's a lot of other things that you could give people that they would really value. When I was running Bolt, I was running a community, and we wanted to get them to interact with advertising, and we couldn't pay them enough money but we created a badge they would get that ended up, and we could get 2 million of the 23 million kids anything to get a badge, because the badge scrolled around there and conferred status in the community. And status is huge. And the is the problem with giving community members money is money's really expensive. When you say that everybody gets more, it doesn't have to be money. And in fact, I have that the size of a community to what I call value delta. The difference between the value, how much it costs a community or something. And stop going ahead because thanks. I'll say next. So that the community really correlated to value delta. Value delta being the difference between how much it costs the community to manufacture something and how much the community members who get it value it at. So the bigger the delta, the bigger community. And that's why the big communities in the world, the things that have the biggest value delta in the world, we have a collective name for those things. Anybody want to guess what we call them? We call them religions. Next slide. Religions produce faith at 50 cents a book. And I'm not being pejorative, God bless. What I'm saying is, oh my God, greatest communities in the world, right? For a tiny little cost, a lot of people value their faith more than they value their entire life, right? That's incredible. And as a community, that's what you should strive, right? How can we give them something that they value like that? Next. So I talked about engagement, and that engagement is my belief in running the network. What I saw was, kids would either spending more time, any cohort was spending more time, but once they turned over and stopped spending more time there, getting them back was, I thought, almost impossible. And so I was a massive bull on Facebook for 8 years after I wrote the report. Until for the first time in history, fourth quarter 2017, their engagement went down, and I went negative. I said the epic run is over. I likened it to a great line in Annie Hall when at the end of the movie, when the relationships is over, they're riding a plane across country, and she looks at him and says, I think the relationship is over. And he looks at her and says, yeah, I think you're right. Relationships are like sharks, they have to keep moving forward or they die. And what we have here is a dead shark. And, I think that, engagement was growing, but for Facebook, engagement started going back up. And they actually gave a reason why the engagement went down, because they wanted to stop people from doing the number one thing that people want to do on Facebook, which is read fake news. And so they stopped it, but then, yes, it's hilarious, but it's true. That's the number one thing that people want to do. So they stopped it, and then after 3 quarters, it started going back up again because they decided to let people read all the fake news they want. And that's why I think they're fucking evil. This is number 6, which is that there's really a lot of value. I think one of the most exciting things as I look down the road about DAOs is seeing how DAOs collectively, 2 DAOs, 5 DAOs, 100 DAOs are going to work together. And when they have a shared ethos, and oh my God. Next. So I've been writing about FAMGA, what I call FAMGA, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon, since 2017, literally just a little while before I saw the crypto light. And their growing share of tech market cap, which had really been more than 50% of all tech market cap since 2010, had been captured by FAMGA. And that was great for their shareholders, bad for the rest of society. And that, I didn't see anything on the horizon that was going to change that trajectory, and I found that very scary. Next. And that's why when I think about the moment that we're at today, for me personally, the reality that I live in is that, again, I said, oh my God, the metaverse, biggest thing to happen in the history of humanity until the next thing I see. But for today, that's it. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be that for the rest of my life. And it feels like we're in an epic struggle for the soul of the metaverse. And that, against the community, against FAMGA, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon. And it's actually, go to the next slide, to me, actually, remarkably like Star Wars. We're the Alliance, and they're the Death Star. And if you go to the next slide, and what we're out for is, a better world. This really is about good versus evil. And this is a revolution. This is a fucking war. And a lot of people have a lot more tools than we do to win this war. Next. So I talk about Occam's razor. Occam's razor is a monk in the 1400s, and it's basically the most likely thing to happen, or have happened is the thing that happened. And we use a lot of our mind share trying to think of very low probability shit for whatever reason. And so a lot of times when I'm faced with big problems, I think, well, what's Occam's razor? When I got a big decision. And personally, unfortunately, Occam's razor, while Star Wars was awesome that the Alliance won, but most of the time, pretty sure the Death Star wins. And so, one of the things, two things I'm trying, one is help people, accept my definition of community, or have that be a broad definition of community that everybody understands that we're doing. And the other thing is that we're in a fucking war, and, we're the Alliance, and it does not look good. And, the biggest disappointment, quite honestly, in the 4.5 years, and it's by a wide margin, the best 4.5 years of my life, but has been the little amount of progress that's been made on the two things we need to solve for if DAOs are going to work: token economics and governance and consensus. 4.5 years in, and for me, the biggest step forward in governance and consensus, and by the way, brilliant people in this room, oh my God, but the biggest is, and I'm a huge fan of DAO Stack and Matan Feld. He's a genius in building out this massive stack of technology to help us all make the world a better place. But it turns out that is making a fully formed human. And Amin Soleimani recognized that, in fact, you can't start with trying to make a fully human. What you got to start is with a 2-celled amoeba, the Moloch DAO, and so So this is an awesome chart showing there's nothing but change. At one point, IBM was the dominant market share company. At one point, Microsoft was, and now it's Apple. But at each point along the way, it like seemed that, oh my God, there's nothing to unseat them. So the only thing about FAMGA that I said is, I don't see any technology except there's nothing constant but change. And about 6 months after I wrote the first article, I saw crypto. Next slide. Next slide. So when I got into crypto, one of the things I was most shocked to buy was all the vitriol. And I thought it was a real bug. And now, actually, I think it's a feature because revolutions are messy. And the only way we're going to run this revolution is we have a bunch of really passionate people. So, and everything's a double-edged sword, but, it doesn't bother me anymore. Next. What about regulations? The U.S. government is so, and, but for me, I don't care because this is happening regardless of regulations. It's just going to happen more elsewhere. And by the way, if I am wrong about that, then I don't fucking want to be in crypto. I am here because of that. I am here because, there is a better way to run the world than it is currently being run. Next. And then Amari's law. And this is also why we get bubble. And that's because we tend to overestimate the effect of technology in the short run and underestimate the effect in the long run. And that is undoubtedly going to be true about DAOs. Thanks.